Hey everybody, how's it going? Stadman coming back at you, and today I'm going to be talking about some stuff that I found at Goodwill. I made a trip to Goodwill again this week. It's been a while actually since I went to Goodwill, so I figured I'd check it out. I gave it some time to fill up with some more stuff because, you go almost every other week, and eventually you just start seeing the same stuff over and over again. You're just like, well, I'm going to have to just wait for them to put some new stuff in there. So that's what I did. I waited for them to put some new stuff on the shelves, and lo and behold, that's exactly what they did. So this time around I found some pretty good pickups that I was pretty happy with. The first thing I'm going to show you though is something that I'm sure a lot of people will cringe at. A lot of people will say, why the hell did you buy that? Well, I've got a little bit of nostalgia, just a tiny little bit of nostalgia for this movie, and I actually kind of think Sinbad was a funny comedian, so I picked up House Guest on DVD. This is the Sinbad comedy vehicle, and I can't remember if it was this one or the one where he goes to the White House and all that shit. Whichever one it is, I remember one where he played a guy who was really into sports cards and trading cards and stuff like that. And that one kind of stuck with me because when I was a kid, I was really into sports cards and trading cards, and I collected them a lot. So, yeah, I was just like, I could relate to this character. Now this one, even as a kid, I don't remember really loving this movie, but I do remember watching it a few times and liking it somewhat, and one of those movies you can put on the background just to have as kind of noise or something like that, and have a few moments at least where you turn your head, watch it for a few minutes, enjoy it, and then get back to whatever the hell else you're doing, you know what I mean? So I would consider it more of a mindless, fun kind of movie. It's not necessarily the kind of movie that needs a lot of attention, if you will. So yeah, I picked this up just mostly for nostalgia's sake, and because it's $6 on Amazon, so get it here for $3 from Goodwill. That's a pretty good deal, and it was in pretty good shape. And of course, Phil Hartman. You can't really pass up a chance to get a movie with Phil Hartman in it because, well, sadly, there aren't too many of them. There should have been more, but, something terrible happened to the guy. Anyways, the next pickup I made here was one that was just a blind buy per se. In fact, most of these are blind buys because I took one look at them, realized that I had no idea what they were. I'd never really heard of them before. And the first one here was Kansas, starring Matt Dillon and who else was it? Andrew McCarthy. So Kansas, at first glance, I'm just just a movie just called Kansas? Really? That's all it's called, is Kansas? What the heck is this? Take a look at the cover. Matt Dillon. Matt Dillon is in this? Really? Okay, well, what is this? So I look at the synopsis, and it says it's actually a bit of a thriller going on here, and I'm just like, sounds like it's not going to be too terribly good, but could be some dumb fun, and it isn't something I'm very familiar with, and if I'm not familiar with it, chances are it's one of those, it's out of print, it's, hard to find kind of thing. So because I have an eye for that kind of stuff, I immediately knew, holy crap, this is not something normal. This is not something you would usually see on sitting there on the shelf. And sure enough, it isn't. I believe it is actually out of print, especially this particular version. You can tell with the old MGM DVD logo and everything. But it doesn't necessarily command a high price tag either. I think this one goes between maybe $7 and $15 total. So it's not necessarily one. I guess I could have bought it just to sell it, but that's not the whole idea for me. The whole idea for me was the synopsis actually sounded somewhat interesting, and I do want to check this out and see what it's all about. So yeah, hopefully it's pretty good. Maybe I'll let you know. I mean, I do need to get around to watching a lot of these movies that I end up buying just to see what they're like, you know what I mean? And I've been thinking about doing a video series where I'll watch a couple of these a week and then talk about them in the video and be like, well, back to the old DVD pile, basically. I don't know what I would call it. I need to come up with a catchy name for it. Not because anybody would give a damn about a catchy name, just because I want a catchy name for it, okay? But yeah, Kansas, not a catchy name. But it did catch my eye because it's not catchy, because it's so bland. If you took, like, you're taking one look at this right now and you're telling me, yep, that's definitely a suspense thriller movie, no. This does not look like suspense thriller, but according to the synopsis, it is. So, I mean, they even talk about hopping a speeding freight train. Like, okay, we'll see what this is all about. Next up here, I decided to pick up Victory, which has several releases. Never seen this one, but because it's a John Huston film, John Huston directed this, and because it stars Sylvester Stallone, Michael Caine, I mean, there are a lot of notable names here. I've never seen it, so it's like, I gotta fix that, man. This movie has way too many notable names not to have at least seen it, you know what I mean? So went ahead and decided to pick this up, and yeah, lo and behold, this is also one that's not necessarily very easy to find, but there have been a lot of releases for it, I will say that. Like, you go on Amazon right now and you look it up and you'll find like at least half a dozen DVD releases of this movie, I think just in the States alone. So been enough releases of it out there, but for whatever reason this one still goes for about the same price as like Kansas went for, like maybe a little less, like $6 to $12 or something like that, something in that range. So all these DVDs that I got were $3 each. So to pay $3 for this, never seen it before, interested to check it out and see what it's all about, especially considering the names attached. Yeah. And the concept behind it, this is no ordinary soccer match. This is war. The battlefield, the stadium in occupied Paris. The Army's German All-Stars versus ragtag Allied POWs. The objective, demonstrate another proof of Aryan superiority. Guess who wins? Better yet, guess who cleverly uses the match as a means of escape. Sylvester Stallone, Michael Caine, and Max von Sydow star in this rouser directed by the legendary John Huston. The climactic match is a heart-in-the-throat, hat-in-the-air exhibition of brute force and balletic grace featuring soccer legends Pelé, Bobby Moore, Osvaldo Ardiles, Coprins, Mike Summerby, and more. Score a splendid entertainment goal for victory. I always love how goofy the synopses sound on the back of the DVD. I mean, they have always sounded bad, even in the VHS days, so it's nothing new. But it's always endearing, I think. It's always fun to read the back and just see the kind of stupid stuff they came up with to try to sell people on it. And you know what? It sold me on it. It's silly. It's a kind of goofy way of saying it, but the concept for the movie sounds pretty damn awesome. And the fact that it was directed by John Huston is a big frickin' yes from me. And yeah, the actors, like particularly Sylvester Stallone, attached. Yeah, I am definitely very interested to see what this movie is all about. So yeah, glad to have gotten that. Next up, I decided to pick up another movie, and this is an older one that I had never seen before, never even really heard about, based pretty much on the synopsis, but also on the actors attached. So I picked up The Bachelor and the Bobby-Soxer, which, I mean, first glance, like, obviously that's not a name that most people are going to be familiar with, and that's why I was drawn to it. It's like, I've never heard of this before. And then, of course, I take it off the shelf and I find out it stars Cary Grant and Shirley Temple, and it does not appear to be a young Shirley Temple. I mean, young-ish, I suppose, but I think it's actually a somewhat older Shirley Temple. In fact, I just read the synopsis a little bit closer here on the back. Shirley Temple plays a teenager. She's a teenager in this. So we're all familiar with Shirley Temple as like the young little 3-year-old girl doing the singing and dancing and stuff like that back in the day. I mean, even if you have never seen any of the like the young Shirley Temple stuff, you've definitely seen like the late night shows trying to sell you on the DVDs or whatever for Shirley Temple movies. Like they always show those late at night, or at least when I was growing up, when I even into my mid-20s, they were showing that on TV. It was always one of the paid advertisements, though, like sometimes even 30-minute long paid advertisements that they'd have in place of an actual television show. And I'd wake up in the middle of the night hearing, "Good ship, lollipop," and I'd be like, "Oh my God, turn it off." Don't tell me you don't have similar memories, because I know you do. But yes, this is a later role for Shirley Temple, playing alongside Cary Grant. And in fact, the very concept is that he is forced into basically going on like a date with this young teenager played by Shirley Temple. So, like that whole idea, I love Cary Grant as it is, but the whole idea of Cary Grant being forced to go on a date with a young teen Shirley Temple just sounded so weird and almost creepy and what the hell to me that I was like, okay, I have to check this out. I want to know if it's cringy or if it's actually kind of good, what's going on there, you know? So, yeah, I'm sure it'll be a little bit cringy just based on, like, the whole concept to me sounds like something that would have been acceptable back then, and that's why it flew back then. It was okay to make this kind of movie back then. That's why it was made. But today, I feel like the concept for this movie would never freaking work. Oh, yes, an adult going out with a teenager. Yeah, no. That would never fly today. So, wanted to see what this is all about and see how disturbing perhaps it is comparing to modern times. And it looks pretty good, at least. I looked it up on IMDb and it has a pretty good rating, so we'll see. Next up, I found Ziegfeld Girl. I have no idea what this is, but again, the names attached sold me on it. James Stewart, Judy Garland, Hedy Lamarr, and Lana Turner. I mean, if you need to know anything more about the movie, I don't know why, because that was enough for me. An elevator operator, a wife of a struggling concert violinist, a born-in-a-trunk vaudevillian. They're three different women on three different paths of life, yet they soon share one dream, to become a Ziegfeld girl. Lana Turner, Hedy Lamarr, and Judy Garland play the respective three trying for stardom in this sumptuous extravaganza. James Stewart adds to the star wattage, playing the jilted truck-driving beau of Turner's footlight diva. And legendary innovator Busby Berkeley brings his imaginative camera work and pacing to numbers that include Garland's massively scaled and calypso-infused Minnie from Trinidad, plus a lavish showgirl revue finale that reprises the rhapsodic "You Stepped Out of a Dream." Sweet dreams, movie fans. So it sounds kind of like a musical, perhaps. I mean, you take a look at the cover, it kind of looks like a musical. So, yeah, I was kind of expecting that when I got it, but the main reason, I'm going to be honest with you, that I got this was James Stewart. I mean, I can't pass up a chance at seeing Jimmy Stewart. He's one of the greats, and pretty much everything I've ever seen him in, it was freaking amazing. So, yeah, wanted to pick this up, and of course I looked it up. And as with pretty much everything else that I got in this trip, it was a really good deal, and it's one of those that's hard to find for less than like 10 to 20 bucks, really, because it's out of print. So, because it's a Warner release, I'm pretty sure there's probably a Warner Archive release of this out there, but because it's Warner Archive, it commands a higher price. Whenever you can find one of those, it's going to be more of a Warner Archive release, and you can find it on the original DVD, which probably has more special features. I mean, there's a boatload of special features on here. Whenever you can find that, whenever that's the case, you definitely need to pick up on it. You definitely need to get it. So, glad to have found this for $3. Such a good deal. especially considering that it goes for so much more. And then finally, what I think is actually the best deal that I found there, this one was actually hiding. It was hiding behind, like on the bottom row, one of the bottom rows. I don't think it was the very bottom, but it was like the second up from the bottom. And it was hiding in the back of the shelf. They have this really weird shelving unit at this Goodwill where they've got ones in the front and ones in the back. And the ones in the back are a little bit elevated, but not elevated enough for you to really see what it is. All I could tell was, just from looking at it, like, wait a minute, that is not a DVD, that is a Blu-ray. I knew for a fact because of the size of it. Because, you know, you put it up against like a DVD, it's a little bit shorter. It comes down a little bit more when it's sitting on the same level. So immediately stuck out to me that it was a Blu-ray, and looked a little bit closer and I realized, oh, it's a box set Blu-ray. So I was like, okay, what is this? Hold on, hold everything. And there are a couple people around me. I'm just like, no way, I am reaching in here and getting this. What is this? Sure enough, it was the complete series of Roots on Blu-ray. And yes, because it was Blu-ray, they charge a little bit more, but I'm telling you, $5.99, $6 for the complete collection of Roots on Blu-ray. And yes, I checked. All the discs are there, and they're all in good shape. Not only that, but yes, this is the box for the box set, and it also came with the booklet. It is freaking complete. So looked it up on Amazon. This is a set that usually goes for like $25 to $30. So holy crap. And yes, it is one that I wanted to pick up. I have actually seen the DVD copy of this out and about at other Goodwills, and I thought about picking it up on DVD, but then I was like, no, it's on Blu-ray. I'll wait and get it on Blu-ray at some point. And then, lo and behold, again at a Goodwill, I find the Blu-ray box set complete with the booklet. Just, what? That is awesome. I don't care who you are, that is awesome. So, yeah, obviously one of the best miniseries events ever made, and put a lot of people on the map, a lot of actors and filmmakers. So, yeah, very glad to have this in my collection. It's one of those classics. I would say like a somewhat modern classic that is very highly respected because it's such a good movie, and it tells a compelling story, needless to say. So, very happy to have this on Blu-ray. Never expected in a million years I would find it for $6 at a Goodwill, but here we are. Very happy about that. So awesome. So, yeah, that is that for me today. In total, I found all that good stuff. Not a bad haul, if I do say so myself. The only one I really knew a whole lot about, or had a lot of familiarity with, was House Guest here. The rest, for the most part, I mean, Roots I'm familiar with, but almost everything else, in fact, everything else here, just, it was a blind buy. All the others here were just like, it looks interesting, it sounds interesting, it's out of print, it stars one of my favorite actors, it's made by one of my favorite directors, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I always jump at the opportunity for that kind of thing. Sometimes I'll jump just because a name like James Stewart is attached. Sometimes I'll jump because, oh, John Huston directed this. You know, sometimes I'll just jump because, hey, Kansas, this looks weird and interesting, and I've never heard of it before, you know. And the whole beach, or not the beach, but Bachelor and the Bobby-Soxer thing, like Shirley Temple as a teen, Cary Grant, what is going on there? And why have I never heard of this before? So anyways, that is that for me today. Thanks for watching, you guys. Catch you later. Peace.